Okay, gang, in this screencast, I'm going to show you the value of a foreign constraint. What we're going to do is create a database that will be a forum. So I'm going to click New, and we'll call this database our forum. And our collation will have it defaulted with the general, and right now we have nothing in our forum, but let's go ahead and create a couple of tables. Generally, a forum at its lowest level would have a table called categories and maybe one of posts. And what we're going to do is relate these to each other. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a table called categories. And this will have two columns. We're going to do this in the second normal form. So this will be cat ID. It'll be an integer. It'll be auto-incremented and primary key. I'm going to click Go. And then we'll just simply have the category name. All this will be is a way to organize our posts. So this will be varchar 255, very minimal, and I'll go ahead and save it. Now what we need to do is insert a couple of categories inside this database. So I'll do maybe baseball and football, and I'll click Go. So right now I have a table called categories here. Now we need to have our posts dependent on these categories. So what I'm going to do is go to structure, and now I'm going to create a new table called posts. And in this one it'll have 4 columns. It'll have an ID primary key, and it'll have a post title and a description and a borrowed key or foreign key that goes to the category ID. So right now I'll click posts and I'll do post ID, and this will also be primary key auto increment. We'll keep clicking Go, and then we'll have maybe post title. I'm naming these because I don't want them to be MySQL keywords, so I'm naming them as compound nouns. So I might have something like post description. One thing you should know is if I had the word DESC, that's a keyword in SQL, and it won't trigger an error. It's just it won't allow any changes to the database. It can be very frustrating. In this case, I'll apply a text value. Text allows a maximum of 65,000 characters, right around there. So that should be plenty to accommodate our posts. And lastly, we'll create a borrowed ID so we know what category each post belongs to. And this will be nothing more than an integer. Okay, so right now we have 2 tables that relate to each other. Let's enter a couple of posts. So let's do baseball, something about baseball. And spring training, yay! Is anyone going to Arizona? So here's our forum, but our borrowed key is a 1 because 1 was the category for baseball. Now I'll make a post for football. CET is everywhere in football. Post your stories about brain injuries here. So now we need to add the borrowed key to that. So if I click Go now, I can get those values. Now, what a foreign constraint is if we go into our categories table and we delete either the baseball or the football record, but we don't delete the posts that go with it, we would have an inaccurate database. We would have posts that are being held with no reason. So what we do is we create a foreign constraint. And we do this by controlling the relations from the foreign table. Again, we need the InnoDB to be doing this. So if I go to forum here and you see InnoDB, that's vital for a foreign constraint. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my posts. I'm going to go to structure and go to relation view. And this is where I can create my constraint. So I can call this something like category restraint. And we can do something on delete. Now we'll get to set null, no action, and cascade, but right now I just want to restrict a deletion. I want to just restrict this column ID in the form for cat ID, and the table would be categories and cat ID here. So what we're going to do is on delete restrict or on update restrict. So if we update either of those two tables or delete any of those two tables, which is the category for this referring table into the cat ID, we're going to echo out an error message. So let's try it. So right now my query has been executed successfully, and it says alter table posts, add constraint category, foreign key, cat ID, references category ID, on delete restrict, on update restrict. So now what we're going to do is go to our categories, and we're going to try to delete one. So let's say I'm sloppy with my databases and I want to go ahead and delete the baseball category, knowing there's a baseball record in the posts that depend on it, and I click OK. And this is the error message that I get. Cannot delete or update a parent row. A foreign constraint fails. Forum post constraint category references category ID. So basically, because I set that constraint, I cannot delete a category if there are dependent records on it. And that's the beauty of a foreign key. And that's one of the things that really improved database design when the InnoDB was released, and it allowed for these types of constraints that can prevent a calamity or a chaotic deletion of a category to which a smaller element, the posts, are related. So that can get kind of confusing. As far as the SQL in this, I'm just going to give you a quick preview. I can open up my SQL window here and put it right. Let's say I wanted all the posts that were related to baseball. I could select, and in this case we're going to select two tables. Categories. We're actually going to get what we need. So we're going to go to the posts table first, and then I'll go into, we'll make sure this is right here. We'll push this right down here, and we'll do select posts, that's the table, dot post title, comma, posts dot post DESC, and this is going to be an example of calling two tables at once. From posts categories where posts dot cat ID is equal to categories dot cat ID. And so what we've done here is call two tables at once, and this is sort of a preview for chapter 7. So select posts, get what we need from the two tables that hold the data, only where the IDs are the same. So that's how to call two tables at once, and I'll click go, and I will get all my stuff. But oh yeah, I have to add something, don't I? Exactly. I never added where the ID is. So I'll compound this, and I'll do and. So we've already got a where statement where these are equal, and the categories.catID is equal to 1. And that'll separate the posts of football from baseball. And now I get my baseball posts. So it takes a little practice, but that's a preview of a nice second normal form table running, and it's also a nice introduction to foreign key restraints or constraints. Any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me.